Iranian citizens. Know your rights before you establish a new government. You, as human beings, have a set of rights that are born with you. You own those rights, as you own your bodies. Your rights are not given to you by your government, your leaders, your parents, or any other entity. Your rights cannot be voted away by the majority. Your rights are yours, and you are responsible for protecting them. This responsibility obligates you to establish a government whose only job is the protection of your rights. So what are your rights? Freedom of expression. The freedom to exercise individual autonomy in making choices related to relationship, lifestyle, physical appearance, art and music, language, thoughts and viewpoints, articulation of facts and opinions, and consumption and dissemination of information must be guaranteed. Right to own and bear arms. You have the right to own and bear arms for the purpose of defending your life, liberty and property, and those of your loved ones. This right is an insurance that protects your other rights against tyranny, and therefore, must be guaranteed. Freedom of association. You have the right to associate with anyone or any group for the purpose of expressing, promoting, and pursuing any shared ideas, and engaging in any collective actions. You also have the right to voluntarily leave any group without fear of negative consequences. Right to own and use property. You have the right to own property for the purpose of using, selling, producing income, transferring to others, or altering, for your sole benefit and the benefit of those you designate. More on this later. Right to privacy. Your right to control your privacy, including the privacy of your physical body, home and property, thoughts, feelings, secrets and identity, against all modes of unreasonable access and search must be guaranteed. Freedom of, and from religion. Your freedom to practice the observance, or rejection of any religion or sect, belief, acts of worship or other rituals must be guaranteed. Any religion whose tenets oppose the freedoms enumerated here is not recognized, and therefore is not protected. Right of minor children. Minor children possess all the rights and freedoms expressed here, some of which are obtained indirectly through their parents or guardians. Parents or guardians don't own their children. Instead, they are responsible and obligated for providing their children with physical and mental protection, and an environment that promotes a healthy growth. Freedom from obligation to others. You are free from non-consensual obligation to others, and your government must not enact any law to the contrary. The government must not be allowed to forcibly take resources, including tangible or intangible properties, from any citizen without just and fair compensation. Your Constitution. Your Constitution is a contract between you and your government, stating that the power you grant your government is to only be used to protect your rights and freedoms. But how do you ensure that your government uses this power for your protection and not against you? Along with other safeguards, the United States government, for example, ensures checks and balances through the establishment of 3 equal branches, namely the executive branch, the judicial branch, and the legislative branch. These provisions can also be implemented in your Constitution. However, these safeguards are not sufficient for keeping the power of your government in check. Small government. Limit the power you grant to your government to a minimum. Your government must not be allowed to own and operate any businesses, including manufacturing, mining, drilling, the media, or any service-oriented ventures. Your government must not be permitted to generate any revenue, other than those it levies in taxes. Remember that your government is managed by a group of people. Therefore, the power you grant your government is granted to that group. Any product or service you can produce and provide privately, you should keep private. Method of taxation. Governments, even in advanced countries, use taxation as not only for generating revenue, but also conducting in social engineering, granting favors to some groups over others, and increasing the government's power. These reasons should entice you to prescribe a specific formula for taxation in your constitution. One of the best methods of taxation is that of a retail sales tax, where taxes are levied based on a certain percentage set by the government on activities between businesses and individuals. Business to business and individual to individual transactions are excluded from any taxes. This method of taxation promotes savings and investments in that it allows individuals to minimize their taxes by refraining from unnecessary expenditure. This method of taxation also keeps the government spending in check, since any increase in the sales tax rate may negatively affect the rate of business activities, and by extension, the government's revenue. Your money. Money that is not backed by a globally valuable commodity is worthless. Some countries back their currency with the trust the world has in their government, but eventually, that trust will wane and their money will lose value. Invariably, those governments will print more and more money to pay for projects that are beyond their mandate. Printing money without having the assets to back it will lead to inflation, causing wealth from the majority to be directed toward a small group of elites. Ultimately, overprinting of money causes hyperinflation, and soon, the destruction of the entire nation follows. To keep your country's economy stable, you must prescribe the exact method by which your government mints currency. You must specify the commodity that backs your currency, and the exact amount needed to represent one unit of currency. Don't back your money by the currency of any other nation. If you do, you'll be at the mercy of that nation's economic conditions. Right to own and use property, revisited. As was established earlier, you have the right to own and use property. Without this right, you cannot be free. But who owns your nation and its natural resources? In some countries, the property laws entitle landowners to own all the natural resources found within the borders of their properties. But this level of ownership cannot be fair and equitable. If so, what would stop someone or a private entity, for example, to own all the oil fields in your country, and by extension, control its entire oil industry? Certainly, such right goes far beyond an individual's natural right to own property. We must recognize that although property right is foundational, a nation's natural resources are owned in equal proportion by all its citizens. This ownership is literal and not symbolic, meaning that each citizen must directly benefit from this ownership. One way to achieve this is to separate the value of the natural resources in a property from the value created by the human endeavor, and then require the property owner to pay a usage fee for the natural resource portion of the property directly to the other citizens. Although this requires a complicated bookkeeping, today's technology allows for such an advanced accounting. More importantly, this framework not only recognizes the nation's ownership by every citizen, but it also provides a basic minimum income for all individuals, contributing to their prosperity and happiness. Iranian citizens. The world is watching your revolution with much anticipation and hope in your toppling of the tyrannical government that has been ruling over you for the past many decades. There is no doubt that you'll be successful in demolishing this decaying house and cleaning your sacred ground from its infested debris. We hope that on this same ground, you will build a solid castle in which freedom seekers can find refuge and safety. If you do this, your ways will be emulated by people the world over, and you will once again find yourself in the place of leadership your advanced culture so richly deserves.